Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Oley Valley School District Board of Directors regular meeting for January 19, 2022. Roll call, please.
Oley.
Here.
Heckman.
Here.
Piper. Here. Batkin.
Here.
Jackson. Keller.
Here.
Markley.
Here.
Perry.
Here.
Zachin.
Here.
Mrs. Jackson has a personal commitment tonight, so she will not be joining us. Can you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to announce at this time that we have no plans for an executive session. However, should the need arise during the meeting, we'll take care of it at that time. School program, we have no school program?
No, not tonight.
Okay, so moving on to introduction of guests. I have 4 people who want to speak tonight. One is online. See if we can get Mr. Jackson lined up well. Let me just go through the rules real quick. So this is the point in the meeting where we open to public comment. As per our district policy 903, public participation in board meetings, a copy is usually at the front desk up there. Public comment is generally limited to 30 minutes in total. Each participant is limited to 5 minutes in duration. Each participant shall announce the name and township of residence. Public participants may express their concerns over school operations and programs, but may not address complaints about school personnel or other persons. All comments shall be directed toward the board as a whole. A participant may not yield his or her time to any other person. Campaigning for a political candidate is not permitted, and defamatory, uncivil, harassing, or rude comments are unacceptable. So again, the first one I have is Kit Jackson. I think he's online.
Yeah.
You there, Kit?
Go ahead.
Hey, so introduce myself. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kit Jackson. I just graduated from Oley this past year, and I'm now at Bucknell University studying computer science and engineering. And I just wanted to talk to you guys today to just kind of discuss some of the stuff that I did at Oley and how it's impacted here. One thing I really tried to do as much as I could at Oley was take dual enrollment courses. And that has just really helped me, and just Oley's program for dual enrollment, and also Dr. Schenk and Mrs. Borvik, who worked with me closely, helped me to be able to take extra courses at RAC. And they applied for credit that I've now transferred to Bucknell, which will allow me to graduate in 3 years. And the other thing I just really wanted to mention, specifically Mr. Buckner, Mr. Mole, and Mr. Schaefer, and the STEM program that you guys have there, especially with Project Lead the Way, has put me ahead in all of my engineering classes here at Bucknell. You know, something that you guys cover in the program here is CAD, and that's something that like a lot of other kids here just don't know, but it has given me an advantage in all of my classes here. And being able to present and discuss engineering related things and STEM related things in front of a classroom is a skill that's really lacking here, but is something that I was able to develop through the Project Lead the Way curriculum and my involvement in TSA. So I just kind of wanted to say that, you know, that was just very impactful to me, and keep up with the PLTW training. I know it's expensive to send teachers every year, but it's very beneficial for students looking to do this in college. Thank you.
Thanks, Kit. Appreciate the feedback. STEM program is very close to me, so I do appreciate the feedback. And best of luck to you in school, man. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Okay, next card I have is Miss Berry, Debbie Berry.
I'm Debbie Berry from Oley Township. I asked to speak tonight because I have a few questions for the board and certain board members. It has been asked numerous times in previous meetings by Mrs. Bogdanova Pfeiffer and Mr. Keller if this policy or law has to be followed in order for the district to receive federal funding. It has been questioned as if we could change the policy in order to change the policy, not receive federal funding or return that funding. This district received $2.4 million in federal funding for 2020 to 2021. The district will receive $3.2 million in federal funding for 2021 through 2022. Mr. Pollack, I respectfully request that Ms. Bogdanova Pfeiffer or Mr. Keller explain what was meant by changing the policy and foregoing federal funds. Also, how they intend to make up that money lost due to not accepting those federal funds. In December, Ms. Bogdanova Pfeiffer stated that she wanted to hire teachers and support staff, which I understand that's part of what she can do. Mr. Pollack, I would like to know what morals and values these three new board members would like to see in teachers and support staff, what morals and values they believe they should have. During the January 10th meeting, there were numerous transphobic comments made. Not a single board member spoke up for these kids or any member in the school district that's transgender. In a recent study that was done by the American Academy of Pediatrics, half of transgender boys have thought or tried to commit suicide. 29.9% of transgender girls have tried to commit suicide. 41.8% of kids that identify as non-binary have reported that they tried to commit suicide. Transgender and non-binary kids are often the most bullied kids in the school district. Sometimes these kids are not even accepted at home. Now, because of comments made by members of this board, these kids are made to believe that they're not accepted in the very community they live in, that the very people that were voted in to do what's best for our children have no interest in doing what's best for these children. In closing, I feel that members of this community have the right to know where that, if we lose that federal funding, where you plan on making it up, because I don't think a bake sale or a car wash is going to do the job. I would also like it known that there have been many lawsuits brought against schools and brought forward by the ACLU for transgender issues. What does this board plan to do if someone brings up a lawsuit against this school because of comments made in these board meetings? Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Mrs. Berry. Next card I have is it Mary Harris? I'm sorry, I don't think I got that right. Ms. Harris?
I just became aware, my name is Mary Harris. I just became aware tonight of a student in the district that had come home and asked his mother, how many genders are there? And the student was told two. The mother and father believe in two genders. Well, apparently, I don't know how it's being presented within the school district, but he was addressing another student in his class and who said she was an it. He's a young boy. He said, no, you're a girl. And there's a lot of confusion. I just think that what the DNA is presenting, not what you feel, should determine. We're an agricultural community. I think we understand the way things perform. And despite what's politically correct, I think we have to understand that we have to recognize there are maybe two different views on this, but if the biology textbooks that you're teaching from and health books and so on, unless they're all being revised, I think we should state what's across the board in regards to the gender, politically correct or not. We're a small agricultural community, and I was just made aware of this today. I've never been to a school board meeting, and I didn't know I had to stand behind a podium and do any of this, but I just want to let you know that I'm in support of the parents that take this position. I don't think they should feel as if they're second class because they're not complying with, I don't know what's being taught. I do know that there were ramifications for this little boy's sister. The boy, by the way, was stabbed by the girl and was suspended. So like I say, this is going on within our school. And how it's going to be handled, like I say, I wonder if across the board is staying strictly with curriculum, unless we're going to revise all science and health, we should probably address things as they are biologically. So the children can have an understanding and let the parents take it from there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Harris. Next card I have is Ms. Coral.
Candace Coral, Pike Township. So last week, some board members requested an amendment to the existing health and safety plan while also keeping the proposed amendment from Dr. Schenk to align to the DOH's new recommended guidance. Team voted for the additional amendment, removing the masking requirements after quarantining the individuals. 6 board members said no. DOH's recommended guidance, however, could be considered fragmental and discriminatory, which the team voted yes on. The reduction of COVID positive quarantine days from 14 to 5. Now, when you voted to reduce the overall quarantine days, you made the decision to treat sick individuals the same as those who were not vaccinated and were considered just contact trace. So let me summarize what the DOH communication and policy changes were. Vaccinated or not, if you test positive for COVID, quarantine for 5 days, return wearing a mask for an additional 5. Now, if you're unvaccinated and you're contact trace, it doesn't mean you have COVID. You need to also quarantine for 5 days, return wearing a mask for an additional 5. Here's where it's discrimination. If you're vaccinated, right, and you're contact trace, you can return to school and wear a mask for those 10 days. So I want to ask the board, do we trust the science? You all have said yes. And our concern, or is our concern to stop the transmission? I'm going to say yes. Does the COVID vaccination stop transmission? Sure. In studies, it is shown, but only up to 3 months. Now, this is where it's fragmented. If you already had COVID, can you stop transmission? Yes. Again, studies have proven for at least 8 months. Now check the National Institute of Health's website and I can provide you those links, along with all the resources I brought with me, and I'll leave them here. Talk about mental health in this school quite often. We have even had parents of the community come up here to discuss mental health, and we've hired a long list of individuals to address these concerns along with kids falling behind. Imagine this. You have a child who's doing everything they can to keep themselves healthy, not knowing if they're going to walk into this door, be sent to a room by themselves, and be told that they need to go home. Now you have a child who's getting ready to go to bed, and when the phone rings and he finds out it's the school, he has an internal emotional breakdown. And you ask why? Because they might have a sporting event, friends they miss, school they love, troubles at home, a concert, an art show, an extracurricular activity they've been working so hard for. Regardless of their tenacity and good behavior, they're being sent home to quarantine for 5 days, or even worse, being told that school is going virtual. I want you all to ask yourself if you find this fair. And I'm going to say no one on the board would say yes. We've all had the privileged upbringing compared to this emotional turmoil. It's no secret, you're here to ensure appropriate education for our children, all while keeping them safe. And safe does not solely mean for COVID. Safe means from danger, mental health issues and concerns, abuse, preventable accidents, discrimination, all health concerns, and so on. You're to lead this administration into governing them, removing and granting authority as necessary. So with that, I'd like to ask Dr. Schenk, after I'm done, to inform the public here what she meant by her words last week. If the parents send their contact trace students into school who are unvaccinated, she will have to contact the authorities, not by word. What authorities and what policy outlines this statement? Or could you at least clarify later? The DOH's own guidance states that quarantining for contact trace individuals can be avoided if they absolutely cannot. Please also note Dr. Schenk advised only 25% of the individuals contact trace feel sick after. No data on those who then test positive, along with the health and safety plan is ours to make, not the DOH per federal guidelines. Now, I'd like to ask the board to reconsider the proposed amendment from Ms. Bogdanova-Pfeiffer and Dr. Fatkin and meet in the middle. All students and faculty that have tested positive for COVID will need to stay home for those 5 days after that positive test and can return for days 6 through 10 wearing a mask. That stays the same. All students and faculty that are contact traced will have to wear a mask for 10 days from the date traced. Remove all language around vaccination status. It's irrelevant. As we have seen these last months, the vaccination does not stop transmission. An argument can be made that you're increasing the risk of sending actual COVID positive students in wearing a mask who were contact traced who have been vaccinated because their symptoms have been lessened. You're not able to tell. I think this provides a more synergetic approach where we treat individuals the same, something we should all be prospering for. The mental health in our students should start to self-correct when they learn that they will not be punished, because that's how they look at this, for being in the same vicinity as someone who is sick, and their parents and guardians, their doctors' health decisions are not brought into question. The next concern we should be discussing is how do we keep the kids to not go virtual? We have received nearly $3 million in federal funding to support the board in achieving this. I just ask we make this an ongoing discussion on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. That's all the blue cards I have. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to the board tonight?
Hi, everyone. I would like to make a comment. I'm appearing virtually.
And I'm sorry, your name is, ma'am?
My name is Kaya Lyons. I'm a 2009 alumna.
Kaya?
Great, thank you. Good evening. My name is Kaya Lyons, and I am a 2009 graduate of the Oley Valley High School. Since my time at Oley, I've received my bachelor's degree from the George Washington University and my JD from the University of Minnesota Law School, and I am now a senior staff attorney working in Washington, D.C. I attribute the successes I've enjoyed as an adult largely to my experiences in the Oley Valley School District. That is to say, I would not be the civil rights lawyer I am today if it were not for the outright racism, misogyny, homophobia, and bigotry I witnessed while living and learning in the Oley Valley. Until this week, I had hoped that things had changed since I graduated nearly 13 years ago. In fact, I knew they had. Since graduating, I've been heartened to meet and work with OVHS students of this new generation who are proudly, openly themselves and have been accepted and embraced by their peers. But this month, it became glaringly, despicably clear that the adults who have been entrusted with their protection and education not only refuse to accept them for who they are, they intend to deny their humanity and promote the stigmatization, castigation, and traumatization of already vulnerable LGBTQIA children. During the school board's discussion of the proposed policy amendments on January 10th, several members made comments and used language unbecoming of a public servant and inappropriate in the context of educational policy making, which require acknowledgement and condemnation. I will use my comment period to identify some of these transgressions for the record. First, I would like to address the board's confusion and seeming bewilderment with the non-discrimination provisions with which they are tasked with complying in their official capacity. Not only are these statutes and regulations explicitly cited within the amended policies they are supposed to have reviewed prior to discussion, they are also specifically referenced as resources for the community on the school board's own website. If we cannot trust our school board members to understand the most basic components of their responsibilities, how can we entrust them with making decisions affecting the health, safety, and education of our children? Furthermore, the idea that a not insignificant number of you would rather decline state and federal funding for school infrastructure, administration, programs, and services than comply with the most basic legal requirements to protect children from discrimination, harassment, and retaliation is not only despicable on a human level, but it is also antithetical to and violative of the principles you vowed to uphold as an elected school board official. Bias and hatred have no place in our schools. As elected public servants, you have been entrusted with the safety and education of all children in the Oley Valley, not only the ones you choose to identify as worthy of protection. Indeed, the hateful words you used and policies you endorsed only serve to harm Oley Valley students, teachers, and parents by increasing violence, suicidal ideation, and depression experienced by our LGBT.
What's that?
I don't think it matters. I think
I
there's
never went to college in Connecticut, you still have residents in Oley. So she can work as an attorney there.
I don't think it matters.
Pardon?
Is it
Excuse
All right,
me?
sorry, Ms. Lyons, I misunderstood. I guess I thought you were a resident here in Oley. Since you're not a resident, I can't let you speak at the meeting since you're not a resident or a taxpaying resident of the community. So,
My license is a Pennsylvania license. I still pay taxes at 18 Ridgecrest Drive. I'm simply working in Washington, D.C., and I am a 2009 alumna of this school. Can I please continue my comment?
your residency in Oley?
It's the board requires a public participant to be a resident or a taxpayer of this district or anyone representing a group in the community or school district, any representative of a firm eligible to bid on materials or services solicited by the board, any district employee or district student. So what I think I heard you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you are paying taxes in the school district.
Yes, I still have a Pennsylvania license as well. I can show it to you if you'd like.
Well, it's not the Pennsylvania license, it's a residency.
The taxpayer,
Taxpayer issue.
taxpayer of the district.
I understand
You
that.
still pay taxes in the Oley school district.
Yes, if you would like me to discontinue my comment based on that grounds, I understand. I do believe that we had an alumnus speak earlier who you did not question the qualifications of, and he was allowed to complete his comment as well. So it does appear that you're applying those policies. You're not applying those policies without bias, in my opinion. I would be happy to submit my comments in an email to the school board and make them publicly available to those members who are here in the meeting who would like to read the rest of my comments. But I would like it to be known that I do have a right to be here, and that the comments that were made at the January 12th and January 10th meetings were wholly inappropriate, unbecoming of a public servant, and antithetical to your role as school board members. I'd also like to congratulate Debbie Berry for standing up for transgender and LGBTQ students. And I guess I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Lyons. Is there anybody else online or in the audience that would like to speak? Pardon me? I'm sorry, please. Go on.
Hello, my name is Kira Nicholas. I didn't really have a speech prepared, but since you offered, I just have something I would like to bring up. So in the 5th grade, me and my friends were playing a game of Truth or Dare on the playground. And I was dared to kiss my crush on the hand, only on the hand. So I did. The next day when I came back, I got called down to the guidance counselor because who I kissed on the hand was also female. So apparently there was something wrong with me and I should have rethought that action. But I had a friend who was in 2nd grade who was kissing her boyfriend on the lips, but that was fine. Why was that? Why wasn't I allowed to do something that was admittedly less inappropriate for school, but she was? It's just, I don't know if that guidance counselor still works at this school. I don't know her name. All I know is she told me she did not speak to the other person I kissed on the hand. Well, she did because I was made aware of it by her. I don't know if they're allowed to lie to students like that, especially when it is personal to them. I don't really know the rules because this is like the 2nd meeting I've been to. But I would just like to ask, is kissing someone on the hand more inappropriate and less acceptable than kissing someone on the lips at school? That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Okay, I believe that brings us to the end of the public comment. Moving on with the agenda, unless somebody has something to say. Okay, moving on to Commonwealth funds. I have a motion to approve the Commonwealth funds report for December 2021 as presented. Mr. Heckman seconds the motion. Questions or comments on the Commonwealth funds? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Batkin,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Pollock,
Yes.
Zacken.
Motion approved. Treasurer's report. I have a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the month ending December 2021. Mrs. Zacken seconds that motion. Questions or comments on the treasurer's report? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote.
Batkin,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Pollock,
Yes.
Zakin,
Yeah.
Piper.
Yes.
Motion approved. Approval of bills. Have a motion to approve or ratify the payment of bills for the period of December 10, 2021 through January 14, 2022, in the amounts as listed. Again, Mrs. Zakin seconds that motion. Questions or comments on the bills? Roll call vote?
Heckman,
Yes.
Keller, Markley,
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Pollock,
Yes.
Zakin,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Zakin.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Moving on to solicitor's report.
No report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mancuso. Administrative report, Dr. Shank.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Tonight we have for you the gifts for board appreciation. There are key rings and a Christmas ornament that we didn't quite get done by the board meeting. They are a gift from our what we call Career Academy students, K through 12, which were formerly known as our life skills students. They have worked tirelessly on their math skills to do the dimensions and downsize from their prototypes and to make the key changes and Christmas ornaments for you. Even our students in the elementary have done a really nice job using coins or money in order to do fractions. And as you know, with our life skills students, they are more intellectually disabled young people across the district. So they have worked to make these for you this evening. They wanted to be present, but because of the COVID, we did not bring them out with the crowd tonight. But they are very grateful for the maker bots that we put into their classrooms. All three buildings are now running school stores and many kind of cafeterias and running a district version of the service occupations program that is also at BCTC in preparation of getting them to transition to life beyond high school. Students in those programs that, 5-minute limit?
Sorry,
I'm sorry, because I can talk forever, you know that.
I know.
Our Career Academy revised our program, and those students actually, just so that you have an understanding, students who were once nonverbal, maybe autistic or other intellectual disabilities, who are now speaking full sentences. They're able to go out with their parents to the grocery store and help to shop, do the money. Actually, we're working to get them jobs in our community as part of an internship in their transition, even as low as our first and second graders working with Mr. Reber at the elementary school, as we prepare them for life beyond the Oley Valley as well. So on behalf of the administration and the staff, we do thank you. And our students, I hope you appreciate their gift that they made. They worked very hard on them just to say thank you for all the support that you have given them over the last 6 months that we've kind of revamped that program. And we hope to be able to bring them to you so you can meet our young people later this spring if things settle down a little bit. But we also gave the Christmas ornaments to the staff for Christmas. They made one for every employee as well as a thank you for the support and working with them. And also in our Career Academy programs, our regular teachers are working with STEM. They're pushed into regular classrooms, whether it be the Project Lead the Way with Mr. Buckner or Mr. Daniels in the middle school and STEM projects, and they're presenting and speaking. And it's just miraculous to see what all students can achieve when they're given the support and the encouragement they need to be successful. So I thank you for that and for allowing me to kind of revamp some of our curriculum areas and really changing the lives of not only those young people, but also the families that you are really supportive in what we're doing and changing them and getting them ready so they can have careers, they can live outside their parents' home, be able to have a job and contribute. It's been very worthwhile. So I thank you for that and thank you for everything that you do for the Oley Valley.
Thank you, Dr. Shank. Moving on to committee reports. Budget and Finance, Dr. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two motions for action this evening. I would like to take number one separately. The first motion is to approve exonerating the school district tax collectors from collecting unpaid July 2021 real estate taxes, which are delinquent after December 31st, 2021, and that the board approve submitting the taxes to the Berks County Tax Claim Bureau for collection. There are 140 bills totaling close to $400,000, which is actually less than the 2020 that totaled over $500,000.
Dr. Markey moves in motion number one. Mrs. Piper seconds the motion. Any questions or comments on the tax collectors? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Keller?
Yes.
Markley?
Yes.
Perry?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Zakin?
Yes.
Piper?
Yes.
Zakin?
Yes.
Heckman?
Yes. Okay, if we can interrupt for a moment, my apologies. I didn't realize that the student reps are here this evening. I apologize. So,
Yeah, I lost it behind the pole.
yeah, we said no student program and I just moved on. So if we can, please.
Press the button on that. There you go. Blend it in. Throw it on mouse.
Hi, I will be reading the school board report for the elementary school and then the middle school. The elementary students were treated to an assembly on the last day of school before the holiday break. The assembly focused on the benefits of developing and maintaining a healthy lifestyle through an action-packed skateboarding demonstration. Thank you to the PTO for providing this assembly for the students. Elementary staff focused on literacy and math data during professional development on Friday, January 14th. Elementary staff will be administering middle of the year assessments in reading and math over the next 2 weeks. Staff will use this data to adjust reports for students through the MTSS process. The second grade chorus concert will take place on January 20th at 10 and 1 p.m. 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. in the middle school auditorium. The elementary school is organizing the One School, One Book event again for this school year. The goal of the event is to have every family at the elementary school engage in reading the book together. A book has been selected and will be revealed to the school community in the near future. Thank you to the Oley Valley Community Education Foundation for supporting this program. The annual Princess Ball will be held on Friday, February 18th. Thank you to the PTO for supporting this great event. And the middle school board report. Congratulations to our December students of the month, Clayton Wise, Ariana Matchewitz, Samuel Deischer, Autumn Fyrick, Benjamin Haynes, and Shelby Stout. Our school counselors are posting a monthly newsletter. The 5th of January newsletter can be accessed via www.smore.com. Parent Comprehensive Plan Survey. The last 2 weekly updates and the district-wide solicitation for parents/guardians to complete a brief survey was conducted. The survey data will be reviewed to identify strengths, needs, and will be utilized to create future goals for the middle school. We welcome Dr. Loredana Bisbano, guidance counselor, to the middle school. She replaced Mrs. Nancy Swank, who retired in December. We completed the mid-year Cdt assessments in math on January 11th, science January 12th, and ELA January 13th. These assessments help us identify where students currently are academically. This data helps identify supports/interventions for students and curricular and structural needs to prepare for the state assessment. The middle school staff participated in professional development activities on Friday, January 14th. Teachers were divided by grade level and circulated during the day to cover topics related to classroom-specific data, positive action, and school-wide positive behavior program expectations. The special education department, nurse, and STEM staff met to address curricular and programmatic in service.
Thank you.
I have the high school board report tonight. We have a lot to celebrate and amazing students and teachers to recognize. Jason Mole continues to be asked to train high school and college staff across the country on our anatomage table and our biomedical program. Janine Bonham, the catalyst for our Earth and Space Science programs, is featured in the NASA newsletter highlighting teachers and students who continued their astronomy research during the global pandemic. And most recently, our STEM program will be internationally recognized in New Orleans, where our staff presents to international stakeholders in June. Congratulations to Christina Coffin for being recognized as January Rotary Student of the Month. Also, congratulations to Region 8 competition winners for FBLA, Dante Calario, Ty Yerger, Samantha Field, Alexa Sott, Lauren Kelly, Nora Bean, Hannah Hamilton, and Molly Rothenberger. Finally, our FFA students outperformed expectations at FFA Midwinter Convention. 3 students, Kendall Robach, Addison Aerosmith, and Sarah Berger, earned their Keystone degree at the FFA Midwinter Convention, and 9 first-year FFA students earned their jackets by competing in a contest sponsored by the PA FFA Alumni Association. We are just about halfway through the school year, and the 22-23 school year scheduling process has begun. Guidance counselors will be visiting the 8th grade at the end of January, as well as meeting with current high school students to transition students to their next grade level. A Google folder of videos created by high school teachers will be sent to parents and students on or about January 24th, giving parents and students time to watch videos about specific courses and processes, the diversity of the courses offered at the high school. High school will then have their annual transition night on January 27th, where parents and students can zoom in to all subject areas and ask questions about course content. BCTC has established a scholarship fund in memory of Walter Clark Hammond, culinary instructor, who died unexpectedly on November 18th, 2021. The scholarship fund will be for BCTC culinary students who plan to attend his alma mater, the Culinary Institute of America. The BCTC culinary students baked over 480 pounds of holiday cookies, raising $3,200 towards the scholarship fund. Donations can still be made with checks payable to BCTC with a notation on the memo line, Hammond Scholarship Fund, and mailed to Julie Ulrich, Company Business Office, Berks Career and Technology Center, 1057 County Welfare Road, Eastport, PA 19533. The winter sports season is in full swing. Highlights so far include the cheerleading squad winning the BCIAA Small Squad Division Championship and 4 wrestlers medaling at the BCIAA Individual Wrestling Championship. The cheerleaders will be participating at the PIAA State Championship competition at Hershey's Giant Arena on January 28th and 29th. Both basketball teams are in contention for qualifying for the BCIAA and District 3 playoffs, which will start in the middle of February. The District 3 sectional wrestling tournament is scheduled for February 19th at Governor Mifflin, and the BCIAA Bowling Individual Bowling Tournament will be held the week of February 14th at Berks Lanes.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, both. I apologize for the oversight. Dr. Mark, I apologize for interrupting you, so you may continue.
No, it was more interesting budget anyway,
Okay.
so I appreciate that. Motion 2 is to approve the budget transfers from 21-22 as presented.
Dr. Markley moves in motion number 2. Mrs. Atkins seconds the motion. Any questions or comments on that motion? Who's second? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Markley,
Yes.
Barry,
Yes.
Pollitt,
Yes.
Jackin,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Action,
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Keller.
Motion approved.
And our next meeting is February 22nd at 6:30. That's it for budget.
Thank you, Dr. Markley. Moving on to personnel. Mr. Heckman.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. Personnel Committee has 10 motions for this evening. What I'd like to do is break this into 2 groups. The first group being motions 1 through 7, which are all dealing with employment and individuals leaving the employment of the district. They're all employment related. So if it pleases the board, I'd like to move on items 1 through 7 as listed.
Jack moves on motions 1 through 7 as listed. Dr. Markley seconds the motion. Questions or comments?
Yes, I actually would like to separate motion 1 through 4. And vote on them separately than 5 through 7.
Is your preference to act on each of those individually or as a group?
1 through 4 probably as a group because they're kind of the 1 and 3, 1 and 2 related, so it's these 4.
Okay, I just rescind that motion.
We just, okay.
So I'll make that motion for items 1 through 4 as listed.
Okay. Mr. Heckman moves motions 1 through 4. Dr. Markley moves, seconds that motion. So questions or comments on motions 1 through 4?
Comments, questions, and we had previously requested more information on people that we approve as the teachers. You asked us to vote. And all we provided is a resume. Up until recently, we were not given anything except that, or how many people were interviewed. It was pretty much back and forth emails to even request that much of information. So when community refers to us as rubber stampers, and everybody knows what they mean by that, is the group of people had pretty much approved what's set in front of them without questioning or asking any additional information. So when I requested to see the scorecards any additional information that will help us to approve or not approve a particular candidate that had been denied. So as an elected board member, that the community looks to not rubber stamp and actually have decisions based on some kind of more information provided to us, I don't feel confident of voting for these members, voting these proposed teachers just based on their resume without having any additional information, or even just looking up somebody else's resume, find out why this candidate was chosen over the other. This is where we stand I can't vote like that. I would like to table this vote to get more information to us. So actually, when we approve somebody,
So you're moving the table most
I
items 1
would
through 4?
1 through 4, yes.
Ms. Pfeiffer moves the table motions 1 through 4. Mr. Keller seconds that motion. Any questions or comments on tabling? I see no need to be honest with you. I have all faith in the world in Dr. Shank and her team to pick us the right people to do these jobs. I'm not sure exactly what more information you were looking for.
I stated several times in the emails.
And you answered. The emails have been answered.
No.
She responded with how many people
You said that
applied. She's
we're
responded
not
with how
even
many people.
allowed to look at the scorecard.
How do you know she even has a scorecard?
Well, how do you decide that this is the person?
That's the job of the superintendent and
But you don't
administration.
give us this information at all. All you give
So I'm
us
asking
is
you right
this
now, what more
resume.
information do you need?
The decision-making process. How this person was, you said there was 9 applicants,
Right. You want to see all the
So-
names of the applicants?
4 interviewed. Names do not give the additional information. But how did you select, what were the criteria that you picked this particular person for our school district?
And again, I've said this in an email such that Dr. Schenk and the administration are qualified to make these decisions and make these recommendations to the
But you
board.
asked me to vote for that.
So you can
Without
vote, you
providing
can
me
vote,
this
you
information,
can
I
ask,
understand that you went.
and
through
I've said that
process.
you can ask all the information you want and she's free to share what she's allowed to share. You want a scorecard? I don't know if she keeps a scorecard. I don't know her process for interviewing these teachers. That's their purview, not ours. We all are peers at this table.
And we're being marginalized. Everybody is marginalized.
Well, I'll ask you, what more information do you require?
I would feel better if we have a subcommittee of the 3 people you mentioned.
To do
That
what?
would just do the top 2 or 3 candidates and just have.
So we're supposed to slow down in our hiring process
For teachers and sports staff.
for teachers and support staff. When we do talk to principals, we do talk to assistant principals. She brings that all to us. Obviously, we do the superintendent, we do the business manager, we do, it was the student services.
It's
We
Act
do all
90
those.
grades and assistant superintendent.
We interview all those, but teachers,
superintendent.
I mean, how are we qualified, except for those people we talked about, how are we qualified to interview teachers?
We all have a voice
You have a voice. You can say no to what's presented to you here.
with limited information.
So I keep going back to what
Well,
you
I'm
want.
going back to, you're asking us to trust Dr. Shang. I'm not trying to character.
Well, then that's-
assassinate anybody. But
So then that's the question. You either
How-
trust her or you don't.
no,
We-
that's
we
not,
asking-
that's not what I'm arguing. My point is, what is the process?
Process is we post the position and then we get applicants that are choosing to apply. We are losing good applicants, especially after, just for transparency purposes. We have lost several good applicants since July. And then we screen the applicants based on their work history, where they're at, informal references. If we know somebody who's in that district, we look at their teaching history. We look at their, interactions with students on paper. We try to select usually between 5 and 6 if we have them to interview the administrators and some of their key teachers in that whatever content grade level area at the building level, do an initial screening interview. And then because they try to screen out, because people can look good on paper and then they don't necessarily, back up what they put on paper because you can write whatever you want. And then based on that, they try to narrow it down to the top 2 or 3. depending on the position. And then they either, if it's a special education teacher, we do a mock IEP interview where they're running an IEP meeting, which is, do they know data? Can they communicate? Do they know what parts of an annotated IDP? Do they know what a 504 is? Do they know what instructional strategies are? If they are a teacher, then we have them teach a lesson. At the secondary level, we usually try to include students at that because they see things differently than adults do. At the elementary level, we do have them teach mock lessons as well, so that we give them a lesson plan. They have to come, they've got to execute it, they've got to integrate technology, they've got to talk about their instructional methods and strategies. And then we do background checks and references. And then after that position, then we run it past me. I go through the contractual pieces of it. We make the offer to the position. And then the person either chooses to accept or they deny. And then sometimes we have to start over. In the case of our assistant principals, we must have started over about 6 times. So we finally found the right 2 people. And that's part of the reason why we're only hiring long-term subs, which for these positions, because we have found good people. But we're working well with OVA is that we're going to repost these positions for a contract hire at the end of the year. And these 2 may be our people, but at this time of the year, it's very difficult to get people to, if you're in a contracted job, you're not going to leave mid-year for someplace to go to another job. Sometimes what you know is better than the unknown. It's just the way the education world is. But we have a very thorough process. We do document it. We involve teachers. Depending on the position, we involve support staff. There's always at least 2 administrators, if more, at the table. We do our reference checks. We do document. We ask legally sound questions, focusing on instructional strategies, rapport with students, behavior, their ability to work with special education students or students who are at risk, as well as can you accelerate learning, as well as remediate differential instruction.
Ms. Perry.
As a teacher here for 4 years, I probably was on interview committees at least 50, 60 times and interviewed these people. The hiring policy here at Oley is extremely comprehensive. It is done through lots of different people who know what they're looking for. They are experts. You are not.
And I can echo what Mrs. Berry says, because I've done over 300 of those interviews. And what Dr. Schenk is saying is to the point, exactly what it needs to be. And those notes that are taken during that interview are destroyed after that interview is over. These people, all the interview candidates, are given the same amount of time, the same rubric questions. They're developed the same way. The discussion is the same length. You can't do anything differently anymore. And if it's not a candidate that's acceptable to this school district, we start over. And many, 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 many times we've started over. And I can tell you right now, we're paying administrators close to $1 million to do the jobs that they're supposed to be doing. This is not our job. Yes, I can interview people, and yes, I can do it very well. And we've done it very well as a board to our administrators. That's what we're supposed to do. But we are not supposed to micromanage any teachers being selected by administration. So I agree with Mrs. Perry. We don't need anything more than what we're getting.
Not asking to micromanage. That's not at all what I'm asking. We're seeing nothing of the process. I mean,
We just explained the whole process.
Okay,
That's the first time you actually explained it.
that's the first time anybody's actually explained it, for starters. We've been asked to vote on how many teachers so far. But we're not physically seeing it with our own eyes. We're not even meeting these people. I mean, if I owned a business, I'm not gonna do an interview with a guy and not even meet the man or I mean, come on.
But in your
But you're
business,
asking us to
you're
essentially
interviewing
be the
somebody
end be all and end
on
all
your
hiring.
level of education, and you know what
So
you're
I'm
looking
just
for. These people know what they're looking for.
I'm just marginalized because I'm just a high school graduate.
You're not being
I mean,
marginalized.
that's
That's
you're
in
being
your
you're
head, I'm sorry
marginalized.
to say.
You're saying I have no experience at all in any looking at anything. I mean, that's what you're saying. Like I'm just clueless.
And so you want
And I can't be clued in.
Mrs.
to the process.
Bogdanovich there, I believe at the first meeting, said there were too many meetings. Okay, I have sat in, Dr. Markley, how many hours do you think we spend on interviewing candidates? 8 hours? 8 hours? if you have 8 or 9, because each person gets an hour?
I mean, is there some other recourse we have to just see
Why?
these people, meet these people?
Why?
I said why?
Walk
Because
into
we're just supposed to
school
take their word.
after they're hired and meet them.
Then why do you
You're
ask our
allowed to do
vote?
that.
Because we have to vote. It's money being spent by the school district. We have to vote on spending the monies. It's the only reason we're voting on it, because we have
No.
to spend the money.
And like you pointed, the process was just explained to us just now at this meeting. And how many emails we went through back and forth.
But I'm
Asking
not
additional
gonna
information.
debate with you on email. That's a violation, could be interpreted as a violation of the Sunshine Act. Am I correct?
But not even explaining all the process.
Okay, well, the process was just pretty much explained to you now. Is there any more information you require for these candidates? I mean, you say it's a rubber
No.
stamp. I kind of take that, I take that really, because we don't just rubber stamp, but we trust Dr. Shank and administration to do their jobs.
All right, maybe it will be a good idea for the new members to actually be present sometimes in the process and observe it, to
But
understand
there's no
it.
reason for you to be in
Right.
these interviews.
But, okay, but you were just asking us, you put a piece of paper in front of us. There's no other explanation as someone's resume and say, just trust our process without explaining, first of all, what the process is, without us even getting the knowledge, anything. You say, just trust me.
I think
Well,
you trust
trust-
her,
Okay.
but you don't.
But
Either
the
you do or
thing
you
is,
don't.
I don't have an experience or anything. I can't judge somebody based on a piece of paper. There's a lot of resume writing out there. And people, like Dr. Shaik just said now, people look really good on paper. When you meet them in person, start asking them questions, you go, oh no. But the thing is, for us to even understand the process, like I said, it was the first time Ms. Perry took the time and actually, and Dr. Shank, you too, just now, to explain the process, how the diligence of that is. We're the new members here. We're coming from the outside. I think also it will be beneficial for the community to see what actually entitles in this process and how it works. Because I'm sure I was not the only one person asking how these people hired, what the criteria they go by. If I have this question, I'm sure there's probably about 100 people in this community that have the same kind of question.
Okay, so again, the
So-
process was just explained to you.
Yes, actually, thank you, Ms. Perry, and thank you, Dr. Shank.
So
And
are there any gaps in there that concern you at this point?
if I will email. But
See, that's the problem. You need to stop emailing it because then it ends up in a dialogue and a debate.
well, the
and
ideal,
that's-
you would like to see this, like the
Like you-
scorecard, a little bit like the explanation like you had with the last hire that we did approve and vote for. You said, this was the reason the person was leaving, this is the person was coming. So there was us given a little bit more meat to vote on, not just based on the paper and the resume. So you said how many people were interviewed, how many resumes were received for the position, how many people were interviewed in person. Is it going to be from the previous employment is going to be increase in the pay, or is going to be actually the person that the vacancy is going to be decrease in pay? You are providing us with a little bit more information than we received this time around. This time around, we'll limit it again, just the piece of paper. And afterwards, you just said it was 9 people interviewed and applied and 2 were interviewed in person as a final result. So, yeah, I would like to see it on a consistent basis, provided a little bit more of the information to the board members.
I've asked this question 3 times. What more information are you looking for?
Okay.
You want a scorecard? Do you keep
I
a
did.
scorecard?
We keep a scorecard, as Dr. Markley said, they are destroyed after everything is compiled because the number of people that you have on the interview team is never the same depending on the position, the timing, the use of substitutes, if we can get them. Is it after school? Is it an evening interview? There's a lot of factors that go into that. We do not ask them if they're leaving their job to make more money. We don't ask them why they're leaving their job now. There's certain questions about morals and values we cannot ask, or we will be sued for discrimination in hiring practices. I've already been in contact with this, groups have already contacted me since last Monday night. We run a very tight, legally sound interview process for every position we do, even for the administrative positions that you run. Same questions, same everything. We check the references. If the references are bad, we're not going to bring you a candidate that the references are bad, because if I make a bad hire, I'm the one who's got to clean up the mess. And that takes hours or weeks and a lot of time to do that. We're not going to risk our philosophy is, if we would not put our own children in front of that individual, we were not going to hire them. That is the baseline philosophy we have in hiring, whether it's a support staff person, from a secretary to custodian to a teacher to administrator. If we're not going to put our own children in front of that individual or interact with that individual, they're not going to interact with somebody else's child. That's one of the biggest philosophy pieces. But no, we can't ask them if they're transgender. We cannot ask them if they're married. We cannot ask them their morals and values. They're all illegal questions. We can ask them what they've done, what their experience is, what their training is, what they can bring. We have them model lessons, and then we check their references. And if the references are bad, they could have the best interview ever. But if the references are bad, we don't hire them. We don't bring them to you. So any candidate I give you, yes, the references are going to be good. Yes, they're going to do well for our students. Yes, they are energetic and they know the material and they can teach and all the rest of it. You know, some positions like special ed, you'll be lucky if you can find a candidate out there. And with the decrease in the number of teachers entering the field of education, it is going to be harder and harder to find good candidates. Yeah. Because it used to be like even the Millersvilles and the Kutztowns, which are great teaching schools, were graduating in elementary alone 400 candidates a year. I think they had less than 100 last year out of Millersville. Teaching, nobody wants to go into teaching. So it's getting harder and harder to find people. So our process is very thorough. And sometimes, like Dr. Margaret said, we start over 6 or 7 times. We put subs in the classroom. I've had administrators covering classrooms. I have covered classrooms because we need to make sure we have the right people in front of other people's children. And I can tell you, I've been doing this I've been in central office now for 22 years. I have never had all the districts I've worked in, all my colleagues in the county. I know Mr. Heckman had made a comment about VCTC runs the same process. The same process and the same information is provided to the other boards. They get a resume. It's a managerial right for me to make the recommendation. If you have any specific questions, can't screen their social media. Somebody has a Black Lives Matter sign or a symbol on their website. You can't not hire them for that. Their private lives and their professional lives are separate. Am I not right?
All right. Anybody else on the board? Mr. Heckman?
Just a comment. This process is not unique to Oley Valley. Dr. Shank mentioned BCTC, but with my contacts there, I talked to the majority of the boards in the county, and everybody runs the same process. It is totally micromanagement for us to be involved in the selection of teachers, the interviewing of teachers and the like. I've been through 4 superintendents on this board. That process has not changed in all those years. It is robust. It is really pedagogically oriented. Run by the administration and the teachers. We all get the resumes. And over the years, I have had resumes where I called a superintendent and said, I need more information. What's this about their activity in sports or whatever it may be. So we have an opportunity one-on-one to ask the central office something about that resume that we receive. But emails, again, are not the way to be doing those things. So we do have some advanced information. But again, for 34 years, I've trusted the process. And it works. Just look at our faculty. It works. So I ask, moving forward, we just trust that process. And maybe to your point about understanding the process, maybe you need a flow chart. Maybe a flow chart would help you understand all the detailed processes in there. I suggest we could do something like that, because that's not detailed in the policy. The managerial responsibilities are detailed in the policy. But if you need a flow chart, we can come up with a flow chart. But again, process has worked all over the years. It works all throughout Berks County. I think I trust the process, and hopefully we can move forward with it.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Anybody else?
Motion on the
So
table.
motion on the table is actually to table or not. So we're going to roll call vote so yes is table it, no is to proceed.
I
motion.
withdraw the motion.
You should draw a motion.
As long as the second's okay.
Okay, so the motion to table is withdrawn. So then we're back to motions 1 through 4 as listed, which was Mr. Heckman and Dr. Michael. Okay.
Oh, this is Jackson's here.
Okay, she called, she got, it. Okay.
How many?
Okay.
Thank you. Record that. All right, so we are with motions 1 through 4 under personnel. Mr. Heckman motions, Markley seconds.
Correct.
All right, so you ready?
Yes.
All right, Perry,
Yes.
Pollock,
Yes.
Zachin,
Yes.
Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Sakin,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Markley.
Yes.
Motions 1 through 4 are approved.
Okay, thank you for that. And the next motion I'll make covers items 5, 6, and 7 as listed.
Mr. Ekman moves on 5, 6, and 7 as listed. Dr. Markley seconds those motions. Any questions or comments on motions 5, 6, and 7? Roll call vote, please.
Pollock,
Yes.
Zachin,
Yes.
Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Sakin,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley.
Yes.
Perry.
Yes.
Motions 5, 6, and 7 are approved.
And then I'll move on items, motions 8, 9, and 10, since they are all conference attendance related. So I move on 8, 9, and 10.
Mr. Ekman moves the motions 8, 9, and 10 as listed. Again, Dr. Markley seconds those motions. Questions or comments on those 3 motions? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Zachin,
Yes.
Pfeiffer,
Yes.
Sakin,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley.
Yes.
Perry,
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes. Motions 8, 9, and 10 are approved.
And the information that appears on our agenda is incorrect. Our next meeting, Dr. Sherry,
Oh, February
Right.
7th. All right.
I think that's all I have for personnel.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. Moving on to policy, Dr. Packard.
Thank you, Mr. Pollock. We have one motion tonight to approve the following new policies, the 100 section programs that require 30-day public review has been completed as listed.
Dr. Packard moves the motion 1. Mr. Heckman seconds the motion. Questions or comments on all those policies?
I have the same questions and comments and concerns because from the understanding of the policies are based on the projection of the law. Some of them, not necessarily the law. When I had requested the definitions for specific titles, including PSBA, they did not provide them, referring that there is a 2,000-page document. However, those policies recommendations came from them. So if they cannot back up their recommendations with a specific, let's say definition. In addition to when I asked them what were the deficiencies in our previous policies, they obviously referred it to the board and to the solicitor. And I have a question to the solicitor. Is it fair to say, so when there is a hearing, both attorneys present their side supported by the research, whether or not it was a ruling somewhere? Is that correct? If their lawsuit arises, the 2 attorneys representing both sides come up with their supporting documentation, ruling in one case, ruling in the other. Is it fair to say that's how it takes place?
Okay, please.
I believe you're talking about case law is presented to support
Yeah,
your
in the
argument.
case of, if there is some kind of a lawsuit going on, so the attorneys go in front of the judge and present their side supported by probably some rulings in different states, different circumstances. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. My concern that our policies, the policies that are proposed, are not based on the actual, some of them are based on the law, but some of them based on the projection of the law. Each judge may rule according to what they see and present it in front of them and according to the situation. I don't believe the policies should be based on the projections rather than the actual law. So we walk in a very fine line of making judges of ourselves here, the board, judge and jury in a sense, based on ruling in some California by the different judge. judge in Virginia could rule completely different based on circumstances that they have over there than judge in California. Having the policies based on interpretation of the law and projection of the law is the concern that I have with what was put in front of us. And I do have some like minor things like not special gifted program. It was 75 students before limit, now it's 65. In 116 tutoring, before the director of student services was able to make the determination for the tutors. Now that was completely removed. Now it's only the role of the superintendent and not a split. Either of the parties can make this decision. So there is like those changes in delegation of responsibilities that I would like to actually to take a little bit more in the details and bring some suggestions and questions to the board. I understand that, you know, it's a lot, it's a big document to review. So those are concerns that I have for the approval of the policies as they presented.
Well, the tutor qualifications by the superintendent, that's law. The director of student services can't approve the tutoring for homeschooling. That's why that was changed.
116?
Yes, that's what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
That's the way the law is written. The private tutor has to do with homeschooling and how you can do homeschool affidavits. Private tutor is one of the ways that you can offer homeschooling to your child.
So that's the difference from the policy that we had before because it reflects the current law.
Correct.
Okay. What about the scaling down from gifted program from 75 to 65?
That's the law changes. That's the new norms.
Okay. Yeah, so my suggestions would be to have the policies for additional review and base them on the law rather than projection of the law or interpretation of such.
I'm not understanding what the question is.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, you have
been
a,
sitting for 30 days
Right.
now, and this is the first I've heard these questions.
No, I've
We
been,
spent time on them last Wednesday, and tutoring didn't come up, gifted did not come up. They're all changes that were made to make it complete with today. As I explained at the committee meeting, the policies were changed to make sure that the 2016, 2017 policies were reflected of current law and case law, because case law is what drives, you know, the interpretation of the law, which is binding.
That's correct.
And a lot of the norms in education and a lot of the other pieces have changed over the last, 5 to 10 years. The whole world of education has changed. So I said, well, 5 and 10 years from now, it's going to look totally different than it does today.
and is it correct that case law in one state could be different than the case law in a different state?
In certain jurisdictions, yes.
So we can't really base a policy based on a case law ruling in a different state. This is again the concern that I have, that it's not a law. When somebody in the audience asks, could you point me to exact wording of the law? In some instances.
Ms. Pfeiffer, you pay PSBA to develop these policies, and they consider all the laws, whether it's a federal law, whether it's a regulation from an executive agency, whether it's a Pennsylvania law. All of these are considered. Case law is considered the interpretation of the legislative laws. You're talking about the entire 100 section, and you're speaking in generalities. I really can't answer your question. So if there's specific items that you have questions about, that's something you should address with the policy board and ask them questions about it. But I mean, you're asking generalities, and I can't answer that.
And I did. And I asked the questions for PSBA. They would not stand behind their recommendations. They said address it to your solicitor and to your local area. They themselves would not back them up.
Because that's not their job. You did ask me a question relating to the policy, and I provided you the case law, the executive order, and everything related to it, which supports that specific. That's the only question I received.
And how come they could not provide the definitions
Because it's not their job.
that are in the laws that they are trying to
I
implement?
provided you the definitions and the rationale between the discrimination policy, and that's the only question I received up until this meeting.
That was forwarded, the questions were forwarded to PSBA, the one that you just referred me to again. And the PSBA would not back their own statements. They, again, loop around and go, address to your solicitor. If the PSBA, the one that's writing those policies, are not going to stand behind them, then I have a concern approving it. And also, one thing we were discussing before was discrimination versus accommodations. And even in the ruling that was before, it was explicitly stated that that ruling shall not apply to having certain accommodations because it's overburdened on the businesses and blah, blah, blah. And that was the quote that I sent to the rest of the board. So
Well, I'm lost. What was overburdened?
for the accommodations, when there was, I don't have the word in it, unfortunately. It's in your emails when I copied and pasted.
Well, listen, I mean,
But so
we have a motion on the table, so, I mean, you have every right to express yourself. I mean, if you have more to say, that's fine. We have a motion on the table. So we can vote on that motion. If you don't agree with passing these policies, you can always vote no. And we'll see where it falls. If we have a majority, then we accept the policies they are. If there's a majority against it, then we'll go back and revisit them. Okay. Anybody else have any questions though, before we move to the vote? Yeah, then roll call vote. Gotcha.
Piper,
no,
Batkin,
No.
Heckman,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Keller.
No.
Markley,
Yes.
Perry,
yes,
Pollock,
Yes,
Zacken.
yeah,
motion carries.
Okay, next meeting is February 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fatkin. Moving on to curriculum, Dr. Markley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one motion for action tonight. I would like to take it as it is written.
Dr. Markley moves in motion number 1. Mrs. Zacken seconds that motion. Questions or comments on the dual enrollment agreement?
That's great. Thank you. I'd just like to thank RAC, and they've done a great job over numerous years. I won't say how many because it would show my age, but I'd like to just thank them for the great job that they do with us. We have a working agreement that we've had for many, many years, and they're just outstanding. So our students benefit from them, and again, thank you to them and especially Mrs. Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes, I just had a question. I wasn't there to ask counsel. Is this a motion that I should abstain on?
She works at it.
Yes, I would abstain. That's my
Okay,
recommendation.
thank you.
Remind me I have your form.
Okay.
I'll just make one other comment. It has been a long-standing program at Oley Valley. We're one of the leaders in the county with RAC and dual enrollment. And Dr. Markley, absolutely right. It is a great advantage to our students and their families. I know many students who have left and had credits to handle their entire freshman year. Absolutely wonderful. But the other aspect of that program is RAC has to approve our faculty members to be able to administer those programs and deliver them to our students. So it is a credit not only to RAC and the like, but also administratively and that whole process, how our faculty gets involved. In many cases, our faculty have upgraded what they're teaching in order to meet those requirements. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
Absolutely. Well said.
Okay, questions or comments? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Batkin,
Yes.
Heckman.
Yes.
Jackson,
Abstain.
Keller.
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Perry,
yes,
Pollock,
Yes,
Zacken.
yeah,
Piper.
yes,
motion carries with 1 abstention.
Under information, our next meeting date is February 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Markley. Property and Transportation, Mrs. Piper.
motion to ratify the following list of van and bus drivers for 21-22 school year. Craig Pollock and Anne Marie Borovic.
Mrs. Piper moves in motion number 1. Dr. Markley seconds the motion. And just before we get there, to avoid any impropriety and just for the full disclosure, Craig is my son. So I will abstain from this vote. Any other questions or comments on the van drivers?
I do have a comment. Unlike with the hiring the teachers, I know that previously you had explained to us how the hiring for bus drivers works. I don't believe we were board members, but I do remember explicitly that this question had been answered and you explained the procedure. And therefore, I don't have any problems of approving.
These are not hired van or bus drivers, they're just.
Yeah, I
approved.
understand.
Okay.
Yes, I understand, but
No,
the
I
thing
got you.
is, you had explained the process.
Okay. I got you. Appreciate that. Any other questions? The roll call here. Well, I guess that's this thing. Okay. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You got one abstention. Motion carries. Is that it then, Ms. Pfeiffer? We get no information.
Yes,
so-
there's no information and the next meeting is to be determined.
Thank you, Ms. Pfeiffer. Student activities, Ms. Jackson.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pollack. Under action statements, I have 3 motions that I'd like to bring to the table, and I'm going to take those as listed.
Mrs. Jackson moves the motions 1 through 3 as listed. Mr. Heckman seconds those motions. Questions or comments on motions 1, 2, and 3? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Jackson,
Yes.
Keller.
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Perry,
yes,
Pollock,
Yes.
Stacking,
Yes.
Pfeiffer,
Yes,
Stacking.
Yes.
Heckman.
Yes.
Motions 1, 2, and 3 are approved.
Under information, our next meeting date will be February 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Legislative Committee, Mr. Zaki.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no action items this evening, but I would like to inform the board the TA Senate was in session this week and the House was in last week and will reconvene on Monday, January 24th. We're watching House Bill 2093, which will eliminate cross-filing for school board candidates. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Zaki. BCIU, Mrs. Jackson.
Okay, under information, I have no new information to report because our next meeting is tomorrow evening.
Enjoy the meeting.
And just remember the virtual art show is tomorrow night as well, and our school district is being represented. Mrs. Luff here at the high school has submitted artwork. So Mrs. Jackson, that'll be there on the virtual, and I'll send out the link for everyone if you want to zoom in on the presentation. Each school district in the county has an art student being recognized tomorrow.
Ag Advisory, Mr. Keller.
Just other than, we had a nice meeting the other week, last week. Very informative.
Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be interesting moving forward.
Did you like the tour?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, has your name written all over it. And that's, I mean, that. It's good. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
The next meeting date is.
Yale House fundraiser. That's the one you just show up and then you tell me there for ag and I forget how that works.
For what?
The Yale House fundraiser.
Yeah, you can make, they prefer reservations just because of tables, and then you tell them that you're there for ag, and then they get a percentage of the, back to the, it's really a combination, I think, with the fair, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Fair part, yeah.
Excuse me, but what date, Mr. Keller, is it now? There's a date on the calendar. Was it a date change?
Yes, it's a date change because Yellow House is not open on Mondays and
All right, so,
March 1st.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Keller. Negotiations, I have nothing to report at this time. BCTC, Mr. Heckman.
Just a few things for information when our next meetings are listed, or the meeting on January 26th is at the East Campus. And as part of that meeting, we will be recognizing 5 board members who are retiring from the BCTC board. The budget situation, I talked a little bit about that before. Dr. Schenk, I know you were in the meeting. Hopefully you and the business office have the information of the proposed budget. That budget does not include, I should say, it includes transportation as has been forever by BCTC. Dr. Stauffer will be forming a committee. As I mentioned before, Dr. Shank's already on that committee. He's been volunteered, but we will have a multifunction group to evaluate transportation to and from home districts, BCTC, to look at the economics, logistics, all those sort of things. So that results in the budget. The proposed budget right now is a district average of 2.8% increase. Again, that information's out there. It's going to be shared on the 26th with the rest of the members of the JOC. The officers do have that information already. And finally, the second round of interviews. I was not at this at the board meeting, or the committee meeting, I should say, on January 10th. I was conducting interviews at BCTC for business manager round 1. We completed round 2 this week, and hopefully on the 26th we will have a new business manager named at that time. So we'll update you next month. That's all I have, Mr. Powell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman.
I do have that budget scheduled for review on the 22nd.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Works EIT TCC, Mrs. Wang.
Thanks, Mr. Pollack. There are 5 reports for December 21 were presented, and just for information. And the next meeting is March 31st at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Communications, Ms. Perry.
I have no information, and the next meeting date's February 7th.
I have a question, Ms. Perry.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
didn't get to email you, sorry about that, but I have as we stated last week, the suggestion box that was recommended out of the Communications Committee is listed on the board website, on the district website. We do have numerous responses already uploading to that. Is it the board's or Communications Committee's desire that I bring them to the committee meeting so that the questions or the statements or whatever anybody has suggestions for discussion at the monthly committee meetings?
Yes,
I
please.
figured because you really can't discuss them in this meeting, so I just want to make sure that I'll take them out, redact any student information, just because they will be public, and then put them on for review under your committee. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
It is up,
Okay.
so
Dawn, do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
thank you. Just want to make sure I was doing
Yeah.
what you wanted.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. Secretary's report, Dr. Shank.
You have a list of upcoming district activities up through the end of March. I did want to let the board know that the pot pie dinner has been canceled for 2022 due to a concern over COVID, but also a shortage of manpower. In order to pull that off this year, hopefully they'll be able to bring that back again next year. And then also, I will be making the big decision as everybody is texting and emailing. The decision regarding weather will be made tomorrow morning about 5:45. So I won't be sending out a call tonight because everybody's all over the place as to who's doing what. And it's all got to be dependent on the timing of this thing. This is kind of the worst timing that you put buses on the road. Just a reminder that we start rolling at 8:15. So I have to have a decision made by 8 o'clock, even though it may stop snowing at 10. And we will err on the side of safety and continue to move forward. But I just noticed the rest of the school districts are putting it out. A lot of them are putting it out tonight.
I think there's a bus goes down my road at about 6:55 every morning.
Morning, so
So
later than
it's
8.
much earlier
Than 8 o'clock.
from that decision. I mean,
Yeah.
it's critical.
So they'd be rolling down the road 2 hours later, it'd be 8:45 on a 2-hour delay, which is projected to be right in the middle of the storm. Especially when I've taken considering Pike Township and also up where you are on the mountain, as we call it. The weather can be very different there and at Breezy Corner than it is in downtown Oley. So we have 65 square miles that I have to consider in making those decisions. So other than that, just some other notes for the board members. If you are planning to attend the Mosaic concert on the 3rd or the 4th, that is a ticket only event. Please let me know if you need tickets. It will be a great time. It always is every year. And then the Jazz Festival is on the 26th. I also just want to remind the board and the community, the foundation, who is one of our biggest benefactors and contributions for grants and scholarships every year. They are having their 25th anniversary celebration here at the high school. And we will be doing the mini showcase of our curriculum programs and things that the foundation has assisted us with. Everything from our summer programming to a lot of our STEM materials, the itemized table, the labs, all of that is the beginning of the kickoff into the spring curriculum showcase, which will be then in March or in May, in the middle of May, which will actually be in all 3 buildings and really focusing on what the great work the teachers are doing in their classrooms every day. And just some other comment, I just for clarification in the rumor mill, the lady who spoke tonight about gender, we do not teach multiple pronouns in any of our biology or health. Students do identify in different ways, and if they're asked, they will respond, but we don't teach that in biology or health. We stick to what we have to teach, which usually is very scripted by the state standards, state and national standards. So just so that you understand that, I know the situation that you were referring to, just so that you would know that, okay? It's not from us. But we do have a lot of students district-wide that do identify differently than male and female. That's all I have. If you need anything, let me know. Meetings are on the 7th. There's 4 meetings next month right now. And other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Shank. Under other, I have it is reported that the Oley Valley School District has a 2-hour delay, operating 2-hour delay on Tuesday, January 18th due to inclement weather. Do we have any unfinished business?
Yeah. In regards to Miss Coral, she would, I guess what I'm trying to do is maybe bring a motion to amend the health and safety plan, or I'm not sure if we bring that up at this point, I'd like to remove the differences between vaccinated versus unvaccinated. I'm reading articles all the time that show that vaccinated patients or vaccinated people spread it just like unvaccinated. So I'd at least like to bring it to the table for discussion at some point. We can do it tonight. We can do it. Just like to bring that forward.
We pretty much are going to have the health and safety plan as a monthly.
I know we just brought it up last week. So I'm not trying to beat that horse, but I don't think the horse is dead yet.
Listen, this thing changes on a daily basis, so it would definitely be on the agenda for the 7th, which is the next committee meetings. But if you want to discuss it tonight, before that, we can discuss it. I don't know what action we'd end up taking.
I don't know if we need to discuss it as much as I just didn't know if there's we could bring a motion to amend that so that the unvaccinated have the same opportunity that the vaccinated have, because quite frankly, vaccinated spread it just like the unvaccinated do. Reading articles from CDC, I've read on CDC websites. It's not like it's obscure conspiracy theories websites. They're reputable. MSNBC. I've seen multiple interviews and things like that regarding this.
So under the Sunshine Law, it would require a majority board vote to take action tonight, to add an action item.
Okay.
However, it's new business, so you could discuss it tonight, or you could hold off for the next meeting and have an official discussion with board action. So that's ultimately up to you as a board.
Can we actually motion it?
Excuse me?
Can we motion it?
So we'd have to move to add it to the agenda for this evening to.
If you want to take action, no, if you want to discuss it, you can discuss it in a public meeting. But if you want to take action tonight under the new Sunshine Law regulations, you'll have to make a motion to add whatever that action item would be and then vote on that.
I guess my only concern with it is we don't have it right in front of us again tonight like we did last time too, because there's like lots of words on that document.
Well, and also if there's any technical data you can share with us, that would be very, very helpful.
Certainly. I mean, I've got various websites on here and things like that. I don't think print paper to share with you, but
that'd be good.
Yes,
Okay,
since
so
I
go
missed
ahead.
since I missed the beginning of the meeting, I'd like the ability to watch the recording so I have a better understanding of what we're talking about.
Should Miss Coral come up and?
she's last.
You just want to
Yeah, I
add it
can-
under
I can
I would
policy.
like that. Yeah, I would like that.
I'll put it as agenda item for the committee.
So we'll just talk about that at the next meeting, right? The committee meetings, we'll discuss it. Again, I'd like to make it a standing thing that we
Absolutely.
discuss every month
Listen,
anyway.
I'm
because it
I'm
changes.
getting more information as we.
That's great.
so
I
can
appreciate
present that. Absolutely.
You could-
I've, what's that?
Sorry, if you could send that out in advance, just so they can read it before the meeting.
Gotcha.
I mean, that's just an information, so it's not
Sure.
a sunshine act.
Absolutely.
But I know you have a lot. I've talked to some other,
Yeah,
individuals too.
yeah. I mean, it's more mainstream now than ever before, so I'm
Mhm.
just trying to get that out to everybody.
Yeah.
So,
Versus
my
sending.
goal is always to keep the kids in school. So if we can give them that option, get them in school 10 days wearing a mask, not having them sent home, I think that's just a benefit to them. So.
And I have a question in the DOH about that too, based on another parent
Yeah,
conversation I had today.
I know these are difficult times. I'm just, I'm trying to do right by the kids. So.
And then the other thing, just so everybody knows, with the 25 we must have 25 projected cases in any building at one time over a 14-day period to close. With the CDC change to the 5-day quarantine period, the chances of that ever happening is like next to zero. So if all this discussion about going virtual due to COVID is like not going to happen unless we, that would get a really bad closure. Or the other piece would be if I didn't have enough staff to staff the buildings, which I know 2 districts are having that problem right now. It's not a student issue. It's just we don't have teachers that are here and nobody has any substitutes in order to staff the questions. Then you go into a fifth day and do virtual learning that way just because you don't have employees to do it. Luckily, we have not had that. OVA has been great in working with us, but with the new case counts and the way that all works, going virtual for 2 or 3 days because of COVID is not going to be on the horizon anytime soon.
Any other unfinished business?
Yeah, one more thing, sure. I was hoping we could find a new ticket person at the basketball game because she asked if I was a senior citizen the other night, so we can move forward with it.
Is that Kay? Kay
Yeah.
Bertolet?
Yes. That's the second time. She did in soccer season once and she did last night. at basketball. My wife looked at me and she just laughed her butt off, so.
Don't you get a reduction if you're a senior citizen?
I should have said, yes, I am.
And then you don't have to pay, oh, don't cry.
It might change.
You can get your pass.
I can vouch for that. Dave and others said, Mr. Heckman, you're a senior citizen. Come on now. Save $2. It's okay.
That's all I have.
We'll take it under advisement.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Fedkin. Do any new business this evening? Sorry, sir, you're not on the board, so you can't necessarily bring up any new business. I apologize.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if I could, can I ask the solicitor a question?
After the meeting, if Jim's willing to.
Well, it's related to the meeting. And it's just a question regarding the young lady that called in from DC. I'm wondering how you're going to rule on that. We want to hear her and speak to us what's on her mind, what her concerns are. And the way I read the document, it says resident or taxpayer.
The policy is the policy. If she falls under one of those categories, she's entitled to speak. However, there was questions whether or not that was the case.
How will it be actually ruled?
In what respect, sir?
Well, because I don't think she really got to finish.
Well, she did say she's going to send us information.
Okay.
So she did say she's going to send that stuff. I guess what we didn't know for sure was, is she really a resident?
So we can verify the tax rolls.
Right. It's not like we had that here in front of us to do it during the meeting. Ms. Berry. Actually, you had it on your, didn't you have it on your card though?
I could bring Oley enough here, in fairness. I'm
It's,
just saying, are we providing driver's license?
Honor system.
it's,
He said he did taxes here in school. I'm just asking.
we have no method of proving, again, it's honor system. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. Marcus so moves, this is Piper seconds the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody want to stay a little longer?
No.
Thanks, folks. Have a great night.